Yo, man, I'm not prepared. Like, I'm not fucking prepared for this monstrosity that I'm about to witness. Cause all I'm all I'm gonna be doing for this one is practically just combine what MatPat is saying to what I know. Okay? Because whenever I was like a little bit younger, I was studying this shit like it was like a fucking test. I studied the FNAF lore more than I studied uh schoolwork. It like I feel I already know MatPat's about to say some stupid fucking shit. Like, hold up. Jesus. There's four. I'm gonna try and make it through all of them, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna make it through two. Because I do not like MatPat whatsoever. Alright. This whole thing was inspired by Big Buffer. I'm gonna be completely honest. It was inspired by Puffer. Because he recently made a video on trying to learn it through MatPat videos after watching like two or three other videos on FNAF. But like he just makes no sense. But honestly, let's just fucking get to it. All right, uh, let's just get to it. So this first one's 19 minutes. Sure, why not? Let's go.
Today we end the torment. 19 books, 11 games, 8 whole years, all leading to this moment. The ultimate FNAF timeline is finally complete. The pieces are in
Oh,
place for us. Now all we have to do is put this story of tragedy, jealousy, and loss back together. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that feels like a
I just want to point out I get all this is a theory, considering that the FNAF games are just indie games. Even though they advance over time to like a VR game to a fucking shitty cartoonish game, Security Breach. But like, he just takes it to a whole other level that's on the like far beyond stupidity.
kid revealing the class project that he's been working on all year. Except here, it's the class project that I've been working on for the past decade of my life. This one is
Yeah,
big,
that's
my
true.
friends, and I gotta admit, kinda nervous. I haven't attempted a timeline video on this franchise since 2018. Back in the days when Mike was the crying child, Afton coming back was actually a surprise, and Fazgoo wasn't a phrase I'd ever thought I'd have to utter. But since the last time I did something like this,
I
we've
don't
had
remember the
3 more
Fazgoo
massive
shit.
games, the death and revival of the FNAF movie, and more robot kids than you can shake a staff bot at. It is exhausting trying to keep track of this whole franchise, which honestly is why I'm here today. The lore at this point is complicated. It is full of speculation and theory, so to hopefully make it a little easier for everyone and to give us all a baseline to talk about this franchise moving forward into the future, it's time to reveal my current working FNAF timeline. But just before I do, I just want to explain a couple of things. First, this timeline is massive. Seriously, it is huge. This thing
That
towers
is
over
true.
any video project we have ever done on the channel. But when you look at the totality of this franchise, the story of FNAF really boils down to the story of one man, William Afton. His successes, his failures, his rise to becoming co-owner of one of the most successful restaurant franchises in the world, and his eventual fall to the monsters he helped to create, only to then be reborn in a new digital form later.
That's that one that really pissed me off. The whole VR shit. That was the dumbest one I've heard out of all the FNAF lores. And like, where do they get that from? Like, what the fuck? Doesn't all this take place in like the 1990s or some shit?
That's why I've decided to split this timeline into 3 main chunks. The foundation of Freddy's, how the business started and how it came into being, the Afton era, William's decades-long murder spree, and post-Purple Guy. Basically modern FNAF. Everything that happens after the pizzeria simulator fire. And because there are lots of new big revelations in this thing that seemingly come out of nowhere, as well as just points I want to talk about further, I decided to dedicate 1 episode to each chunk. I originally wanted it to be one seamless continuous video, but it just felt incomplete without some sort of explanation at the end of each one. Once this whole thing's done, I promise I'm gonna merge all the narrative bits into one massive video so you can just skip my explanations. But for now, this just felt like the best, most satisfying, most complete way to do this. That being said, this is still about the story, the broad strokes of the franchise.
Just
so in
get
order
it
to make
over
sure
with.
that you guys know that I'm not just pulling answers out of thin air, not only am I discussing some of the more controversial bits at the end of each chunk, we're also putting in a handy little graphic in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, which will show thumbnails, video titles, books, and any other citations that we need throughout the video.
All I know about the whole book part is that they are not canon to the games. Supposedly. Because there's like bits and pieces that just never fit, just that don't even fit into the actual game lore. So they just made the books their own separate timeline at points. I don't fucking know.
So if you wish to
This
understand
shit's a
that
mess.
specific statement in more detail, you know exactly where we've taken it from. That way you can look into those details for yourself. So sit back, grab some popcorn, or your pitchforks if you're the type to get upset when I say something controversial, and make sure that you subscribe, since this is going to be a video that you're going to want to come back to a few times in order to fully dissect. Without any more waiting, I present to you the story of a loving, obsessive father who slowly descended into madness, and along the way discovered the secret to eternal life. Our story begins not in the 1980s, or even in the 1970s, but all the way back in the 1930s. It was the throes of the Great Depression, and people...
Where does the Great Depression come from now? The fuck? Where does that come from? I'm pretty confident that throughout all the fucking games and shit, there has not been a mention of the damn Great Depression.
We're in desperate need of
so
cheap
dumb.
entertainment, especially in Utah, one of the states hit hardest,
Oh, that makes
fourth highest
sense.
unemployment in the nation, and full of transients. People looking for work in Salt
Definitely.
Lake, finding none, and ultimately moving on to find their fortunes out in California. People were tired and they were hungry, but as they traveled, there was one thing that could lift their spirits: a simple roadside attraction called Fredbear's Singin' Show. The ads were plastered all over town, featuring an animated bear drawn in the popular pie-eyed cartoon style for characters at the time. He resembled cartoons like Mickey Mouse, Felix the Cat, Betty Boop. It immediately said that this, Fredbear's, was a place where you could bring the family. And the price, honestly, couldn't be beat. For 50 cents, you could get food and entertainment as you watched the local trained real-life dancing bear perform on stage. Normally, you only got to see dancing bears at large traveling circuses like Barnum and Bailey, where the tickets would go for about $1. That's $1 without food. But this was a smaller show, like the type from the Vaughn brothers or the Robbins brothers, where tickets would sell for just a mere 50 cents. Watching that bear do tricks on stage brought a glimmer of joy at a time when so much...
We're still talking about FNAF, right? Because again, where does this come from? Where did the whole Great Depression era come from? Like, where did he get that information at?
was wrong with the world. The simple
Is
show
he just
would go
pulling
on
it out
for
of his
years,
ass at this
bringing
point?
happiness to hundreds of travelers passing through looking for a quick meal. But it left a permanent impression on one little boy, capturing his imagination in a way
William
that
Afton.
nothing else had. One little boy named Billy. That was his nickname at least, but his parents liked to call him William. William
Yep.
Afton. The bear could dance,
Fucking knew
could
it.
sing. For decades, William dreamed of recreating that moment of bringing a musical bear to life, but how? William was smart, without a doubt, and he had a keen mind for business, but he wasn't the most creative. How do you make a singing, dancing bear come to life? The best he could do was using rudimentary costumes. William was inspired by the work of Walt Disney, who throughout the 50s and 60s was pioneering the use of mascot suits throughout his theme park. The big innovation? Suits with 5 fingers. This allowed the performers wearing the suits to use their natural arms and hands to interact with the guests.
Oh wow. Well, fucking ads. Because I don't have YouTube Premium. So let's just go ahead and learn what we know so far, alright? So William, or the timeline takes place at the fucking Great Depression for some fucking reason. And everyone's desperate for either money or something to do. So there's a roadside attraction of a dancing bear that inspires a little boy named Billy to make his own fucking restaurant in the future. So this is what we know so far, because we just started. We're 5 minutes in.
Models where the arms would just hang limply by
Already
their sides.
stupid.
Finally, with a simple mascot suit, he would be able to realize his childhood dream. He would be able to bring Fredbear to life. To appeal to the kids, and for copyright reasons, he changed Fredbear from a realistic brown animal to a cartoonish yellow bear with a purple hat and bow tie. But feeling like one character wasn't enough, he added another friend, a yellow rabbit with a purple vest and matching tie named Bonnie the Bunny. While
Or Spring
Fredbear
Bonnie.
was certainly his first love, Bonnie was extra special because that was his. It was an original character that he had created from scratch. And I do mean scratch. William's hand-sewn costumes were rough, with seams and stitches visibly showing, but it was the best that he could do. And you know what? It was just enough. Bonnie and Fredbear would perform on stage to small but enthusiastic crowds. Finally, he was able to deliver fantasy and fun to all the kids, delighting and inspiring them in the exact way that he had been delighted and inspired so many years ago. And things could have ended there. That could have been the end to his story. It could have been perfect had it not been for one thing. Other people saw the success of his idea, and they wanted in. Enter Chica's Party World, a rival restaurant starring performing animal characters. His idea, except they did it better. William may have been the first, but obviously he wasn't the best. It hurt the prideful William Afton to admit it, but this restaurant was able to do the thing that he always wanted to do: make the animals actually come to life. All of the performers in this restaurant were robots, simple metal skeletons that were powered by battery packs, but all of them able to freely turn and talk and dance on their own, no human required. It was like magic that came from the mind of a brilliant creator named Henry Emily. This Henry, in some small way, had been able to harness the power of life itself. Afton admired him. He was jealous, to be sure, but he also looked upon this man with awe. Off to one side of Chica's Party World was a small cabaret stage featuring an elephant.
So, okay. Now I'm confused. Chica's Party World, I've heard the name before because it was like in one of the game files as a scrapped game or location. I don't know. So, did it go Fredbear and then Chica's Party World? I don't know. And plus, I thought like these characters, like these are like the hippo, elephant, frog, and pig, only existed in the 6th game. But I guess I was wrong.
Elephant magician. On the other, a hippo known to ramble on and on. That one was more of a joke for the parents, but it was the main stage that was for the kids. A rocking band of characters featuring a yellow chicken thing with a southern drawl named Chica, backed by a band of other country-themed characters, including a pig with a banjo, an upbeat frog from the local swimming hole, and a brown bear with a heavy southern accent. Wait. A bear? But bears were his animals. Why not a cow or a horse? Something to fit the country theme a bit better. Why'd it have to be a bear? And adding insult to injury, they had the nerve to call this thing Ned Bear, a direct copy of his own Fredbear.
Whoops, that's gonna leave a mark.
No, that was not okay. Afton's jealous admiration turned to hardened bitterness. A bitterness that would only grow over the next couple of years as families continued to choose Chica's Party World over Fredbear's. William just couldn't compete with the appeal appeal of the robots. Eventually, his restaurant would go bankrupt, only to get bailed out by, of course, Henry Emily. Another insult, another humiliation that William wouldn't soon forget. 1979. Despite being bitter, Afton couldn't deny that what came next was a period of massive success and expansion. With the two franchises now merged into one, it was the best of both worlds. Afton's ideas with Henry's robotic expertise. The two men decided to launch under a new name, Fredbear's Family Diner, a pizza chain that would eventually come to feature a mix of humans and performing
doesn't it have its own? That has its own game now, right? Like, is it like something about Bloody Nights or whatever? Isn't it based at Fredbear's Family Diner? I do know that this is the first official Freddy Fazbear place.
suits, as well as on-stage animatronics. They decided to stick with Fredbear as the headliner, considering the yellow bear was easily identifiable as a brand and because he was the original performing animal mascot. Afton appreciated that. This new restaurant would also see a mix of characters as the two franchises merged into one, with Pig Patch and Happy Frog performing right alongside Fredbear and Bonnie. And as part of this one big Fredbear family, they even got themselves official merch that were released, ranging from masks to magnets.
The crappy Mr. Hippo fridge magnet?
I am sorry, Gregory.
That said, not all the characters were winners. The reception to some characters was just mediocre, so they faded away into the dumpster, storage units, and retro budget tech stores of lost nostalgia, waiting for their chance to step back into the limelight if and when a headliner went out of commission. Others, though, would fare much better, like a new Pirate Fox, as well as a blue guitar-playing variant of the yellow Bonnie Bunny. Ultimately, the franchise would get so big, it would spawn its own cartoon show, Fredbear and Friends. Business was booming. In the end, Fredbear and Bonnie's popularity would be so strong that they would be able to support the Fredbear's Family Diner franchise all on their own, while also spinning off a new sister location dedicated to their friends. In 1983, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza launched, giving a dedicated home to all this new supporting cast of characters. Chica the Chicken, Bonnie the Blue Bunny, Foxy the Pirate, and of course the headliner, a brown Freddy Fazbear. Business was good, and Afton was happy.
Business was good.
It bother him that the one original character that he created, the one that he himself played, Golden Bonnie, got passed over for inclusion in that cartoon show. The only character in the roster of regulars to get ignored for the show, but other than that, things were going smoothly. He had himself a wife, 2 sons, a daughter, he had a thriving business, and best of all, he was able to learn the craft of robotics from the man that he both loved and hated, Henry. Together, they were constantly pushing the limits of what these characters could do. Because it was quick and easy, new characters introduced into the roster would be given a simple hand-sewn suit with 5 fingers that any performer could wear. Eventually, Henry would design one of his signature animatronics for that character, utilizing a divided mouth with either a hinged or sliding jaw design. This was the first generation of animatronics. But why
Hot corners. I know just
Oh, yo, Breaking Bad.
gotta talk to.
Okay, so basically, Henry was William's competition because he had the robotic skills, but he stole, quote unquote, the bear idea. Even though choosing a bear as an animatronic is like pretty fucking normal for everyone, because it'll be my first fucking pick. But yeah, Chico's Party World is business is booming, and Williams' restaurant goes out of business and bankrupt, but Henry buys him out, and that makes William mad. Like, oh no, you saved me and gave me a lot of money. I'm gonna hate you for life now. Let's work together. It's so dumb, but fucking, I'm just. I already know what's probably going to happen because I kind of watched 12% video on it, but he like cut some of it out. But I already know what's coming, and I'm gonna get heated.
had big ideas. What if the animatronics weren't just locked to the stage but could freely roam the restaurant and interact with the kids? What if his mascot suits could become animatronics? What if you could use more than just rigid metallic skeletons? Why not experiment with tubes and wires that would give the animatronics fluidity and flexibility while still providing structure? The possibilities for this technology were endless. Afton fell in love with robotics. He had started with a dream of bringing one simple singing bear to life, but with robots, he had stumbled across the tools that gave him the ability to control life itself. And thanks to Henry, he was practically speedrunning his way to an engineering degree. And while William wouldn't admit it out loud, one other thing that kept pushing him forward was the desire to beat his former rival, to prove himself smarter and more capable, to surpass the man who everyone else considered
Again, I agree with Puffer on this statement. There's no way William did this for fucking jealousy. There's just no way.
to be a visionary genius. But pride cometh before the fall, and tragedy was about to strike. Okay, so that brings us to the end of part 1 of the story. That said, at the end of each
That
of
was
these chunks, I
part
want to
1?
break down
Oh,
some
Lord.
of the logical leaps that I made, since the more narrative format doesn't give me much of a chance to justify a lot of the big decisions. And admittedly, there are some large leaps in here. Let's just start off with Fredbear's Singin' Show, shall we? We know, based on the retro poster that was hidden in Security Breach, that at least at one point, Fredbear was an actual bear. And like I called out in that narrative segment, dancing bear shows were a real form of entertainment. The only problem is that, timing-wise, none of our main characters would be the people in charge of that business in the 30s and a series of pizza restaurants in the 80s without them just being extremely old. Best case scenario, if Afton's running the Singin' Show when he's 18, that still puts him at nearly 70 when the first pizzeria opens and his murder spree begins. That just doesn't make a lot of logical sense because he doesn't become immortal until his first death in Springtrap. That's why I suspect that Fredbear's Singin' Show was either a family business that Afton then carried on to a new generation, or something that he saw as a kid and just wanted to recreate when he grew up. The Fredbear Singin' Show thing also starts laying the groundwork for some of the core elements of this story, that Freddy's was a place of fantasy and fun, and that Afton, despite eventually falling to become the heartless serial killer and mad scientist that we know him as, began as someone with good intentions and a love of entertaining kids. He wanted to bring things to life from the very beginning, a theme that recurs a lot for him throughout the rest of the franchise. Next up, let's talk about those mascot costumes. One thing that I keep going back to is the design of Glitch Trap. It's a handcrafted suit. You can see the seams and everything. It even has 5 fingers for the performer's hands. It is very much not a Springtrap suit. This is something much more rudimentary. It came at a time before animatronics were a part of the story. That's why I suspect that it was actually the first, predating literally everything. It's also a suit that is very personal to Afton. He put his digital
Or, hear me out, it's a game.
consciousness in that form. It's his personal avatar. It's the way that he sees himself. There's also a whole separate discussion to be had here about the habits and rituals of serial killers. So the fact that he's choosing to lure kids and kill them in this particular suit actually says a lot about his emotional attachment to it. So while Fredbear seems to have started as someone else's creation, Golden Bonnie was uniquely Williams, giving him a personal connection. And that's not all. In this whole franchise, only one set of characters have themselves 5 fingers, the Nightmares. Even Golden Freddy, Fredbear, was a 5-fingered wearable suit at one point in the story, as we see in this shot from the graphic novel, before he, like everyone else, was turned into an animatronic. This seems to imply that all of the main characters had similar wearable mascot outfits at least at one point in time, and that whoever is having the FNAF 4 nightmares, if they even are nightmares, something that we'll touch on in part 2, saw those mascot suits specifically. Lastly, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. The literal elephant, Orville Elephant, as well as the rest of the mediocre melodies. For a while now, I've suspected that the mediocre melodies played a much more important role in the story than just being a bunch more animatronics to fill out the roster. Especially Ned Bear, which is just so suspiciously close to Fredbear. And yet, there are 2 key details that we're gonna have to justify with any mediocre melodies mention. One, they're very rudimentary with external battery packs, implying that they come very early in the timeline. And 2, we know that, at minimum, Mr. Hippo does eventually become an official member of the extended Freddyverse. But if these things are supposed to be cheap, generic rip-offs, why would you be trying to rip off yourself? You wouldn't. You would be stealing someone else's ideas. So if Afton created Fredbear, there would have to be some rival franchise. The only other person who would likely be ripping him off? Henry. We've talked extensively about how the mediocre melodies are clearly Henry's design aesthetic, so it just has to be him. I don't think Henry's doing this maliciously. He doesn't strike me as the type. He was likely building the robots at the order.
So now he's saying, I'm saying anytime we get an ad, I'm gonna take this time to talk. So basically, he's trying to say that the mediocre melodies, the shitty animatronics, had a bigger role, even though they only appeared in 2 games versus the original cast. What? Man, why did I get so. Why did I study so hard into this when I was younger? This shit is so dumb now. Whatever. I'm just waiting for the fucking nightmare part. That's where it gets heated.
that was running a rival restaurant franchise. But that's enough motivation to start Afton down a path of jealous rivalry, but also begrudging admiration. As the Freddy Files Ultimate Edition says, it's important to revisit the beginning of Henry and William's relationship, so here you go. I think this is where it begins. Also, this is future MatPat here coming back to add this one in. Seems like the recently released character encyclopedia has backed up all of this speculation. I've had this timeline written for about a month now, but I've also been holding off a bit to see what wrenches this character encyclopedia might throw into it. And on this particular point, I gotta say, it seems like we might actually have nailed it. They actively call out the suspicious similarities to the main Fredbear crew. Quote from one of the pages: Ned Bear looks like an imitation, altered just enough to avoid copyright issues. I don't know about you, but that seems to imply that we were right on the money. Knowing all of this, at one point the franchises had to have merged. That's really the only way that you get Mr. Hippo from the rival franchise as part of the Fazbear crew. This also mirrors a lot of what happened in the real-life history of Chuck E. Cheese, with 2 rival restaurants, each with their own casts of characters merging to become one unified brand. Again, we've gone into that in detail with other videos, just wanted to remind you all of that here. But why would I call out the rival restaurant as being named Chica's Party World? Few things, actually. First, we know for a fact that a location named Chica's Party World exists. It is mentioned in the source code teasing sister location, so it
That's
is
where
out
I
there
saw it
somewhere
from.
and doesn't fit cleanly anywhere. Second, in the story of the Puppet Carver, Chica is very explicitly looped in with the book versions of Pig Patch and Ned Bear, implying that she started as a mediocre melody. Thirdly, her design just fits better with the theme of down-home country animals with southern accents playing the banjo and eating with bibs. And with her being the headliner of the show with her name on the restaurant, it would make sense then that when the restaurants merged, she was the one that was added to the main cast of characters while all the other mediocres faded away. It's also why when Freddy's closes after William's killing spree, she's the one to branch back off into her old franchise and is therefore missing in Sister Location, a detail that's bothered me for years at this point. It might also explain why William decided to stuff his first dead kid into Chica. That one was Henry's creation, not his. Is all of this a big leap? Yeah. Is it connecting a lot of dots that are very spread out?
The only true part that I got from that was the whole kid part. It is confirmed that this Chica was the first one to go. Like, the first kid to die. Because there is a voice line in Ultimate Custom Night that confirms that. So, that part's true.
Out across the franchise that I've been holding on in the back of my mind for years? Absolutely. But I think it makes sense. It also serves as a clean answer to a lot of the random threads that Scott's been leaving dangling for years. So with all of that in mind, my friends, we can close the book on the foundation of Freddy's. And don't worry, next week I'll be back to give you arguably one of the most confusing parts of this entire timeline situation, part 2, the Afton era. I promise it will actually be next week this time. No more waiting around. I am just as eager to get this one out the door as you are to watch it.
The funny thing about that Scott comment was Scott did not plan on any of the games to have a lore. They were just games he created for people to play. So like anything that was like he put into the games was not by on purpose. So moving on to the second one.
We understand an upside-down world, but they're writing us off.
This is gonna be a rough ride for me. If I can't make it through it, I'm dipping. This might be a fucking short ass stream. All right, part 2.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, and officially page 7 of the FNAF timeline script. Last time we covered the origins of Freddy's. We talked about William Afton's childhood dream project of making a singing bear come to life, and the infuriating moment that his dream is copied
Which I
by
still
a
don't know where
rival
he got that
restaurant
idea from.
franchise looking to steal away his success. The merger of the two franchises results in William meeting Henry, a brilliant designer with a knack for robotics. Working together, they make Fredbear's flourish, spawning popular Saturday morning cartoon shows, toy lines, and spin-off restaurants under the Fazbear name. When last we left him, Afton was thriving, the world of robotics opening his eyes to new and exciting ways
Business
of bringing
was
characters
booming.
to life. Bringing things to life. Yeah, that was his core driving force, his passion. And it was this very passion that would mutate, twist, and morph from here on out in the story. Because with life, there is inevitably death, something that Afton would become intimately familiar with. But before Afton acquaints himself with death, I want you to take some time to acquaint yourself with our newest channel. Guys, this is a huge newest theory. Close first.
I don't feel like it.
Self
No.
standing the honestly, passion and me the
No,
the
no, no,
new
no,
channel
no,
upload.
no,
Like,
no,
fit
no,
on here.
no,
Better
no,
man
no.
in a hurry.
Jesus. That went on for too long.
1983, business was booming with two whole restaurant franchises running, Fredbear's Family Diner and the newly opened Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Together, William and Henry had been able to take the hybrid suit idea and make it into a reality. They called their new invention the Springlock suit, and fittingly enough, it was symbolic of the partnership between these two men, a human suit as designed by William that could become a freestanding Henry-style robot. But because it was still new tech with kinks to work out, the rollout was limited, restricted only to the Fredbear's Family Diner location. All of this meant that William was busier than ever. He didn't have time to be a full-time parent, so he designed a nanny cam system where cameras and speakers were hidden throughout the neighborhood, as well as in his youngest son's favorite toy, Psychic Friend Fredbear. I mean, plushy Fredbear. But since cameras just weren't enough to raise a kid, he also left childcare duties to his eldest son, Michael. There was just one problem with that. Michael was far from the best babysitter. He tormented his younger brother by jump-scaring him with a foxy mask and constantly left him behind. William watched all of it from his cameras. Kids would be kids. Tomorrow was another day, after all. Except Michael's torment didn't stop. Bitter, angry thoughts would run through Michael's mind. Why did he have to be the one to take care of this whining crybaby all the time? It just wasn't fair. It was time that he got even with his brother by playing the ultimate prank. A prank that just so happened to be on this crying child's birthday. He and his friends would take his scared little brother and make him do the one thing that he was terrified of doing, getting close to the animatronics. That would be embarrassing for the kid that was such an embarrassment to him. His brother squirmed, screamed, kicked, and fought, but just as they were putting that small, squirming boy up to Fredbear's lips, the mouth snapped shut. The sensitive spring locks inside the body had been triggered by the boy's movements, and they'd immediately clamped.
That part's wrong. It's not the movements, it was his tears. Because these are the spring lock suits. The boy's tears caused the spring locks to go off, and you know. But at least now I do know that the FNAF 1 location is open around this time, because that's Foxy, Bonnie, Chica, Freddy mask, so they were a thing.
Inside the body had been triggered by the boy's movements, and they'd immediately clamped down. The wriggling stopped. The boy went limp, but it was just a prank. It was meant to be funny. The boy was taken to the hospital and was immediately given an IV. Flowers and pills filled the nightstand next to his hospital bed.
See, now this part, there's a lot of like theories on it. There's this one where he gets rushed to the hospital and is in a coma, and that's where he's having the nightmares, which is kind of what I believe in a way, because it sounds like the most, normal thing where you're in a coma and you're having constant dreams of the animatronics, aka the nightmare ones. So nightmares are not real. But there's also some that are like, oh, he died instantly, which is another possibility, but it's a fucking game.
He couldn't recover. As the younger brother's consciousness began to fade, he could hear Michael's last words, a small and flimsy apology. But his father, Williams, through the voice of the Fredbear plush, were a firm...
Wow. I would get YouTube Premium if I could buy it. But for now, we are stuck with the ads. But I might not even make it past this video.
Promise to a dying son. You're broken. I will put you back together. This would not be the end. No matter what, William's son would live again. It would just take time. Time that, right now, he just didn't have. His young son's heart flatlined as the boy faded into the inky unknown of the afterlife. In the aftermath of the tragedy, changes started happening
R.I.P.
around the restaurants. Kids were now required to wear security wristbands to prevent anyone from getting outside without parental permission. Any kid who approached the exit without permission would have to answer to the security puppet, a marionette on strings that could fly around on rails across the restaurant to stop kids in their tracks. It was William's idea, inspired by Michael constantly leaving the restaurant without his brother. In the wake of Fredbear's spring lock failure, all the hybrid suits were getting retired, locked away at the nearby Freddy Fazbear location. It was yet another tough pill to swallow after all the hard work that he and Henry had put into them. William would eventually bury the boy's small body in a
Hey
remote
Nova,
location out
I'm
in the
currently
woods right along
I'm currently watching MatPat to understand his side of the whole FNAF lore, and it's getting dumb, very, very dumb. It's it's the reason why I do not like MatPat. I don't like him. Whenever I was younger, I studied too hard into this shit. FNAF is not scary. Well, FNAF 4 and Sister Location are scary in my opinion, but any other game was not. If you got scared playing Security Breach though, you you get some issues. But I can understand like the old games if it's your first time playing. But FNAF is not that scary. Like when you like play it more than once. Now learning the FNAF lore, that's scary. In the first game, yeah, because I think night 3 is where shit gets harder. The farthest I've gotten in any recent FNAF game was night 4 on FNAF 3. FNAF 3 is the only FNAF game I have yet to beat. Because it's like the hardest one, in my opinion. Next to Sister Location. But the real torture and horror is sitting here trying to learn the lore. That's the real torture. I've been saying that I'm probably not going to even make it past this video because this is the second video. We watched the first one. And it just makes no sense. He took the lore somehow to the Great Depression, which I do not get to. I still don't get. It's so dumb. It's goofy.
alongside his drive into and out of work every day. The death of this little boy sent the family
This one, like, this is where it's getting dumb because we are like going into like basically like, talking about the FNAF lore shit, for shit. There's a grave in FNAF. This unmarked grave has been known to be the wife, not the son, the wife. And now it's the little boy. Like, see, it just makes no sense. MatPat is making no fucking
spiraling.
sense.
His wife, crippled with grief, was so
That is not the wife either. The game even confirms that it's not the wife because it says that he has a rough day. I should leave him alone. That is not the wife. Lord, I'm already getting heated. That is a fucking boy.
distraught that all she could do was sit and watch TV. But his son Michael was far worse, complaining of seeing hallucinations of a golden bear standing outside of his window. The boy was so racked with guilt that he was convinced that he was being haunted by the ghost of his brother stuck inside the suit that took his life. The suit's three-toed feet digging into the wet earth. The words, "It's me," ringing through Michael's ears. Some nights, Michael would even go so far as to break out of his room to check the gravesite and ensure that his brother was still
I just want to know where he's getting like all this fucking information. Cause I watched like other videos on this whole thing, and it's been said by every single video that it's not Michael seeing an animatronic. It's the crying kid, because it's fucking William trying to keep him safe. Because William has a wife, two kids, or two sons and a daughter. The daughter dies before any of the other kids
Still there. As for William
from
himself,
an
he disappeared into
animatronic.
his work and his drinks. Junior's, the local bar, wasn't far from his son's gravesite. He found himself going there more and more frequently, spending longer and longer amounts of time there. The bar gave him a place to think, to remember, to reflect and stew on how Henry had stolen his idea for an animal-themed restaurant. How they'd cut his character out of the cartoon when everyone else was there. How Henry had humiliated him by buying him out of bankruptcy. And now there was his son. Henry had taken his son from him. The
No, we
robotic
didn't.
was the part that failed.
He didn't do
William
shit.
ordered one more drink, but
That's your
it was
own
one too
damn
many.
fault.
The bar turned him out and told him to go home. But William didn't go home. Drunk and angry, William raced back to the restaurant to give Henry a piece of his mind, only to find someone else waiting. Henry's daughter, Charlie, locked outside of the building, bullies laughing at her through the window. Fine, some other problem to fix. But then Afton got an idea. A beautifully awful idea. This was his chance to get back at the man that had humiliated him all those years ago. Henry had killed his business, and now Henry's robotic suit had killed his son. It was time for William to do some killing of his own. Let Henry feel what it's like to have something you love get ripped away. While parties continued inside the walls of the pizzeria, William attacked Charlie in the back alley. It felt good. He felt free. The years of resentment and bitterness trapped in his heart finally released in a moment of pure unapologetic evil. He would make Henry hurt like he hurts.
Oh my god. Yeah, let me just blame my business partner, who I decided to work with, even though I fucking hated them, for the death of one of my kids, even though it was both of our robotic suits. So I'm just gonna blame only him and not take any responsibility whatsoever. Like, what? Oh, our robotic suit killed my kid, so I'm gonna kill your kid to make you feel what I feel. Makes no sense. Well, there goes my phone.
And in that moment, William became a killer. He dropped Charlie's lifeless body and drove home, forced to confront his family problems later that night, appalled, but also a little excited by what he had just done. Charlie's death would remain on the books as a random act of violence. And though Henry had suspicions about William, there was no physical evidence, nothing that could link him back.
Yeah, that part. This is why the books don't count to the lore. It's because Charlie is in the books, but she's older, but she still dies. But she's older than she is in the books than she is in the game.
Back to the crime. In the weeks that followed, Fredbear's Family Diner would close for good. 2 high-profile deaths around the restaurant with 2 grieving owners in such a short period of time was just too much bad press to handle. Besides, Freddy Fazbear's was still open, and it was the newer restaurant anyway. All the equipment from the diner, including the old yellow suits and security puppet, would get retired to that location, and there they would sit for 2 uneventful years. The rest of 1983 and 1984 were spent quietly grieving. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and the new cast of characters were a hit. Tragic memories of their yellow predecessors quickly faded. Afton kept a low profile and buried himself in work and research, quickly reaching Henry's level of engineering and even surpassing him. And while Henry slowed down to grieve, Afton kept going, even starting his own company, Afton Robotics, for all those pet projects that were a little bit too experimental for the regular operations of the pizzeria. The first of these experimental projects was a secret workshop under his house, a veritable bunker, which allowed him to work while still monitoring his kids via hidden security cameras. 1983. A passcode that served as a constant reminder of why the cameras were so important, why he was down there in the first place. This was all to
See, this is how Sister Location tanked everything and anything lore related to FNAF 4. It fucking tanked that shit. As much as I loved Sister Location, that tanked it.
fulfill the promise that he had made to his son, right? I will put you back together. This was for him, all for him. right? But cameras weren't enough. He needed to solve the runaway Michael problem. He had to keep him in the house. He couldn't have another one of his kids wind up dead inside of an animatronic suit. So why not run a little experiment on Michael? You see, all this work with Henry had gotten Afton to start learning more about life, robots, the human mind, and what a fallible machine we as humans were. Our reality is so easy to manipulate with a few sensory deceptions. Deceptions like sound. With just a few sounds, he had discovered that he could alter a person's vision. He could transform
What? That makes no sense. Oh yeah, I can alter sound, but and make you see shit. Like I don't know if that's just me being dumb, cause I'm not a fucking scientist or science major, but I am pretty sure you cannot see shit just by hearing sounds. I am pretty confident. Like, like I said, I'm not no science major, so I don't know if that's actually true or not, but that sounds fucking dumb.
blank, smooth plastic robots into lumbering, twisted nightmares. Nightmares far scarier than he could create with actual materials. They would appear organic, rotting, putrid, terrifying. These would be his means of keeping his son Michael in the
Nope. I can't. I fucking can't. We are we have it's kind of been confirmed already, I'm pretty sure by Scott himself that we are playing as a little kid in FNAF 4. Why are we playing Michael all of a sudden? Yeah, no. I tried. I fucking tried. Okay, I tried. I tried. No. You can actually auditory hallucinations. So does that mean you can see shit if you hear like a sound? Does that actually mean that? Yes, but you need certain conditions to be met. That still sounds so dumb. Like, I don't know how that even works. I don't think I would hear a sound and fucking hallucinate nightmare animals coming to fucking kill me. If anything, that's just me going to bed at night and having the worst nightmare possible. If anything. No, we're not. I'm not continuing that fucking video. I can't. That was no. We were already about to get into the whole conversation about how Michael's the who we play as in FNAF 4. No, thank you. I don't need to get heated over that, especially today. No. But that whole sound shit is dumb. Sounds stupid. It is dumb. Because fucking. I just don't see how that works, honestly. I'm not a genius, so obviously I don't. Still, I don't get it. It's just it amazes me. So like honestly, I should just we should take a gander on the FNAF wiki and see what that shit says. Cause even though it's probably gonna be completely different from when from like every video. Kind of want to see, or this game rant shit. Cause here's how I see like the pizzeria timeline. It goes Fredbear, Circus Baby. Because this is from what I've learned, even though it may not be right, but it's Fredbear, Circus Baby. Because no, it's either Circus Baby or the FNAF one location. I'm gonna say it's go Fredbear, FNAF one location, then Circus Baby, then FNAF 2, then the Fazbear Frights. And after that, it's just a mess. Because all I know is the daughter dies before the bite of 83. That's it. That's all I know. Because in FNAF 4, there is a little girl's room. And around the time the crying kid and the daughter Elizabeth look the same age. So I don't want to hear shit about, oh, she's probably just not at home or whatnot. Where the fuck would she be? She can't go anywhere. Not without like the supervision of her older brother Michael, who is too busy torturing his little brother. But like, it amazes me on how like detail people get with this type of shit. It's wild. It's kind of creative, but wild with what they come up with. Don't get me started on that whole security breach shit. That was dumb. Like basically, whenever security breach came out, like a week after it came out, people were already like coming up with theories that Gregory's the crying kid because of the fucking shit that he wears. Like, let me pull up a picture. This goober right here. Wait, I need to make sure there's like no bad shit I need to worry about. Cause you know how fucking the furry community is. They get wild with this type of shit. Most FNAF fans are fucking furries. I'm saying it now. Yeah, this fucking goofball. Hold up, my fucking camera's in the way. Let me just fix that for you. Yeah, let me just move me right here. All right, this fucking goofball. People will be saying that he's the fucking crying kid, like a robot made by none other than the fucking wife, because she wants to rebuild her family. What? Like people were saying, oh, it's definitely the cranky because he's wearing a blue shirt, some cargo shorts, has some band-aids. It, it annoys the fuck out of me. But the whole like story for fucking oops, wrong scene. For security breach is dumb. I could just sum it up for you right now. Basically, after all the events of the past fucking game since FNAF, the ending of FNAF 6 with the coldest speech ever, the wife, who's quote unquote alive, because she didn't die, wants to continue the franchise after trying to escape from it for some fucking reason. I don't get that. And basically she makes the delivery AR to get the remnant shit, which was dumb. I did not like that whole remnant cringe shit. It was stupid. Stupid. And then like I'm trying to remember. She makes the AR, the mobile shit, which I just never understood. And to keep like the franchise going, because the name was already dug in mud. No one wanted any part of FNAF with all the shit going on in it. She decides to like make different skins. Like there's a Statue of Liberty Chica, a Glam Rock Freddy, a Chocolate Bonnie. Like what? And then she supposedly makes the new location where Security Breach takes place, the Pizzaplex. And there she wants to fucking remake or rebuild her family. So she quote unquote builds Gregory as her kid that she lost in 1983, which is the dumbest fucking theory. Though, and it gets worse from here. Vanessa, uh, was just a normal girl that had blonde hair and green eyes, and it reminded her of her daughter that she lost a circus baby. And then she gets a 2-for-1 deal with Vanessa of her daughter and William because she gets that whole VR shit where William can just take control over someone's mind if when he feels like it and whatnot. And then Michael somehow he gets put into Glamrock Freddy or fucking not Glamrock Freddy. Fuck, what was that Freddy's name? Was it I don't even remember. What the fuck? What version of Freddy was that? It was Glamrock Freddy. What? Oh, sh Slam or Shamrock. Shamrock, that was the one. Not Glamrock. Glamrock was Security Breach. I'm fucking dumb. Yeah, Michael's fucking soul somehow gets put into him. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's dumb. It just amazes me on how far people's stupidity goes. No, honestly, I just want to see how far I can make it to watch a MatPat video. That's probably gonna be it for the stream today. I was gonna do anything big because I'm honestly kind of tired. Even though, like, it's not even 1 o'clock yet. So, like, it's dumb. Yeah, I'm probably just gonna leave it at that. FNAF lore is dumb. Now that I'm older, is dumb. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. See ya.